Okay, at 6 p.m., I'm going to call to order the virtual monthly village board meeting for the Village of Sister Bay on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. Roll call, Zashki here.
Baker here.
Lyons here.
Berto here.
Bronco here.
Dead.
Don is not here yet, but he is planning on joining us. I don't see Nate.
Okay. So we have a quorum. So agenda item number 3, for those of us who want to join in, we'll stand on the count of 3, recite the Pledge of Allegiance. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States.
United States of America
and to the
and the
republic
republic for which it
which
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Heidi, for the screen treatment.
Hey, Rob, this is
Agenda item number
Don
4.
Cox. I missed roll call. This is Don Cox. I called in right when you were starting the pledge.
Thanks,
So
Don.
I
We
let you
got
know I
you.
was here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4, I motion that we approve the agenda as published.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. I will motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the village board meeting on June 21st, 2022 as published.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Janelle, do we have any correspondence to summarize this evening?
Janelle is not with you tonight,
Okay.
but
Heidi?
in the packet, there was a letter from the Friends of Pilot and Plum Island thanking the village for their memorial contribution, and an email from Vivian Nino with some concerns regarding Northwoods Drive. I have not received anything else.
Thank you, Heidi. Do we have any comments or concerns from the public on a non-agenda item this evening? Hearing none, I'll move along to agenda item number 6A, our county supervisor report from County Supervisor Dave Leanow. Dave, we're glad to see you tonight. Take it away.
I'll be with you momentarily. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I will start off with the June 28th county board meeting. We've had kind of a light agenda in June, and we'll probably have a light agenda next week in July also. But I just wanted to point out a couple of things from the June 28th meeting. We did make a number of grant awards or acceptances. We got a Wisconsin Department of Justice pre-booking diversion program grant to Door County Sheriff's Office. We also approved the grant to Door County Health and Human Services Birth to 3 program from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. There was also no Library Foundation grant to the Door County Library. It seems to be grant month in June, which is a good thing. Probably the largest thing that was on the agenda that was a fair amount of discussion but was passed, it was we made an amendment to the Door County Administrative Manual concerning a remote work policy. What was put in place, it was a majority vote to put in place a remote work policy. It doesn't affect all departments. Not everybody qualifies for it. There are a number of qualifiers for it. But of course, as you are well aware, the pandemic of 2020 caused a lot of changes in the workplace. Those workplace changes continue on today. The county government has problems finding employees in many areas, just like private employers do. And one of the areas we have a difficult time is in our health and human services. We have a very large turnover there. All counties are experiencing very the same thing. So we have a number of openings. We've done a couple of things to try and assist our workforce. As you're well aware, a month or two ago, we went to a summer program, which is basically a 4.5-day work week with Friday afternoons off at the county building. And this remote work policy allows somebody to work anywhere from 1 to 3 days to a maximum of 3 days per week with a remote setting. It has to be approved by their immediate supervisor, excuse me, by their immediate supervisor and immediate manager. And it's on a trial basis for a 6-month period of time, and then we'll reevaluate it. But again, we look at it as an additional tool to retain workforce and to attract workforce up to Door County. I don't know if there's any questions on that, or that's what I have to report from the 28th meeting. I also have an update. Today we had our admin committee meeting. And the biggest thing that came out of that, the agenda that's going forward that we approved was the school districts in Door County renewed the intergovernmental agreement to provide school resource officer program that is putting sworn deputies in the schools during the school period and school time, school season, or school in session. We approved Sevastopol, Gibraltar, and Southern Door, renegotiated for an additional 3 years. The city of Sturgeon Bay operates a similar program themselves using city police, so it's not included on the county side of things. But the thing I should probably mention is those those deputies that are school resource officers during the school season or school year, in summer when school is out, are then assigned road duty to provide additional backup and road duty support during our busy tourist season. So it's not just a seasonal job, if you will. It remains year round, and they are fully sworn deputies, so they take road duty as a result. We also provided a transportation program update today. There was, as you're well aware, we have a county-wide transportation system. There was a system that was tried. It was about a year ago. It's up now. It's not going to be renewed. And that was, they started to run a feeder system around Sturgeon Bay 1 day a week on Wednesdays only. That was funded by local businesses. The local businesses were more than happy to try and continue to going forward. But in the 1 year period of time, there was only about 60 rides total given. Less than 4 rides per month average is the way that worked out. So everybody felt it was not worth continuing the program. That cost $215 a day to operate, to only give 60 rides for the entire year. To make any changes in our transportation system, it does require a public hearing. So that was held today. And the administrative committee agreed with the transportation manager to go ahead and cease that service. So that should be ceased by the end of this month. And that's my update. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Item number 6B, the Orchard Agreement Renewal for Sequester Orchards LLC, formerly the Wiltsey property, begins on page 26 in our packets. Julie, would you lead us through this one, please?
Sure. We discussed this a little bit at our last meeting, and the discussion came down to several things. You know, there was some discussion about, should we be charging Mr. Sequest to rent the property? What would that be? It was finally decided that I should reach out to Mr. Sequest and discuss it with him, and then invite him to the meeting. So I did have some correspondence with him. He had indicated that in the past, he was not charged to rent the property because it was for sale. So the owner had just let him, you know, harvest the cherries for free, basically at no cost, to make sure that things were maintained and took care of, hoping that it would help sell the property better. He's not opposed to us charging him rent on the property. He did send us a proposal, and that was, he was thinking $50, that's $50 an acre, which would be $750 for a year. He proposed it would be due September 1st of 2022. And that's based on harvesting 15 acres of orchard. So Mr. Sequest is here. He is participating in case we have some other questions. Other than that, I think those were the only questions that the board had at the last meeting. So with that, hopefully we can finish the discussion on that and finalize the agreement.
Trustees, any discussion?
No, I
Yes.
think my only comment would be is that I think it's a fair offer. I'm willing to move forward with that fee.
Yeah, my only question is what's the average? Not saying it needs to be the average, but what is the going rate? I feel like a discount off the going rate would be fine, but I don't know what the going rate is. Jim, do you have a ballpark on a going rate of what you're paying to rent acres to the privately?
Yeah, Chad, there's a lot of them that are that level. And
Yeah.
we've even got a lot of those, Chad, that are 30-year agreements.
Okay.
So usually it's a case of someone that really wants to keep the property for a long period of time and want it to be used and cared for. And they don't have an immediate use. The family wants to keep it. And that's kind of where we've fit for a lot, but we've, Mr. Wilsey offered, asked us, almost begged us to take care of it so it would be cared for while he was selling, like Julie said. And I think we do that. I think we understand the village has got plans in the future for this. So when it's such a short term, we basically, just so you guys know, we would finish probably work in August, early September, and really don't need to know for sure whether it's available the next year until about 15th of April. So, so it's a pretty quick period where you're really committed probably to us being there. So, and I think the benefit of us just making it maintained and the grass is cut and cared for, is of some value to the village as well. So Mr. Wilsey just was happy that we were willing to take care of it for him until he had it sold. And obviously you guys have been the buyers. So.
Yeah, thank you. Hearing that, I'm good with that offer he made us, and the time frame is great for us because we're not committed to a full year. I mean, he can come to us in April or March, and we can make up our mind if we can lease it to him again. And this works. I mean, it's a win-win, I think. And plus, it's it's not being wasted either, which is nice.
So Jim, does that mean that trees will be treated for winter in September? Or doesn't something have to be done to the trees after the harvest so that winter does not damage them?
No, really. I mean, usually our any kind of spray application to keep the leaves on and things like that, to keep those trees healthy, is all done by the 15th of September.
Okay.
The only thing that would,
Right,
that
okay.
would maybe be some cleanup, making sure everything is clean and down branches are taken care of. And obviously we'd commit to taking care of that just as well as anything else we do, that we're not just going to do minimal care, but care for it like everything else we do. That's been our commitment to everybody. And we
Excellent.
really appreciate the opportunity to even work with the village on it and keep it maintained until you got a better use.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Jim, real quick, how much life are left in those trees? I mean, obviously we're not going to wait on them, but just for.
Right. I didn't plant those. So, but I'm guessing the older stuff there is in maybe has 10 years left max. Probably 5 years is more the productive, and then a decline from there, kind of.
And then what would as development happens and as roads are put in there, I mean, having some cherry trees within it would be great, right? It'd be cool. I mean, I think it's a look of Door County. Is that even worth it to take on, or is it just not? Maybe, obviously, if it's not worth it to you, would it be of any value just to keep the tree there, let it drop the fruit, or would you recommend us just having them all removed?
Yeah, they won't survive if they're not cared for.
Yeah.
They will die pretty quickly, unlike an apple tree that'll survive. But so and I guess we've got a history of working with the village of Egg Harbor, where we actually have some of the green space in the village of Egg Harbor is orchard and below Ames Farm and also below Harbor Vista condos. And I think we believe that the owners there believe it's an asset. So I think there is a possibility that, something could happen where we pitched that to the village of Egg Harbor, that we were pretty cheap green space keepers, compared to condo associations that pay a lot of money to maintain property. we actually paid them some rent. It's not a lot, but it's a big difference from what it would cost to maintain. Like for the Village of Egg Harbor, it's about 7 or 8 acres to maintain in a pretty high density area. And we've been able to coexist there for a long time.
Thank you. That's great information for us. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Jim?
Pardon me? Yeah, go ahead.
Question. So when you say the tree would die, like, would it not leaf anymore, or it just wouldn't produce fruit? Because it's like, if we're gonna, on the property, if we were trying to like do landscaping and plant trees anyway, what would be the harm in keeping a couple of those if they're still, you know,
Yeah,
not like an ugly mangled tree, you know?
yeah. Usually it's about a 3-year decline once you stop maintaining, you know, protections for leaves to keep the leaves healthy. It's about a 3-year decline, and the first year that you get a cold winter after they've dropped their leaves early, they're gonna die, you know. So it's a short-term thing compared to, say, other apple trees or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Any further questions or discussion? I will motion that we approve the orchard agreement renewal with Sequest Orchards as discussed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again, Jim.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jim.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to working together, and you know, until you've got a use, we'll continue to communicate on the potential of at least keeping that alive while it can be there. So you guys have a good evening.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Item number 6C, the development agreement with Richard and Jeannie Hoffman for the motel on Chalet Lane. Begins on page 33 of our packet. Julie, would you lead us through this one, please?
Sure. This is a development agreement that was recommended to you from the Plan Commission. It is, as you can see, for a hotel. It's access off of Chalet Lane, which is a private road. It took a while to get approved. There was some initial concern regarding access to the property. The zoning code does allow access on a private road. And it's one of those things in the code where it's kind of non-negotiable, because it's this hotel is a permitted use. It's not a conditional use. So as long as the developer can meet the requirements of the code, he can get the approval. We just need the development agreement in place to make sure that the integrity of the code is upheld. I do want to point out just a few things in the development agreement that Mr. Hoffman raised to me, and then that we should correct if we're going to sign this. First of all, on page 34, which is section 1, there's 3 things that are in there. One is the completion date. On Mr. Hoff, the completion date says that this would have to be completed by December of 23. That conflicts with the zoning code, because the zoning code says once you get a zoning permit, you actually have 2 years to complete it. That was the date that was in Mr. Hoffman's original application. So that's why that's in there. That's incorrect. It should be 24 months from the date he gets the zoning permit or signs the agreement. The second thing that's on there is Janelle and I had a conversation about what dates to use on the plans. So it says that it has to be built per plans approved. The initial plans were actually approved in April 26th. I had her put June in reflecting the June approval date, because that's when the last time the committee met on it. Mr. Hoffman did point out to me that April was the initial date of the approval. So we should, when you're looking at the approved dates, we'd want it to reflect that April 26th date. So that's a mistake on my part, because I thought that we went by the last day the Plan Commission met. Looking back, that's not how we've done it in the past. It's actually when those plans are actually approved by the Plan Commission prior to discussing the development agreement. Mr. Hoffman did point out he disagrees with section 34, I'm sorry, page 34, section 1, that he would be assessed for improvements on the property, whether he builds the project or not. Just so you're aware, that's something that's in our standard agreement. Because if it's in a TIF district, and if we would be expending dollars on it or investing, in sewer laterals, et cetera, there, we would want to make sure that we're getting our return on that. So that is a standard thing in there. He questioned why that's in there if it's not being used. So that is something that Mr. Hoffman is probably going to address. And then lastly, he questioned why we are requiring street standards, which is page 51. Why would we want a cross section? Why would we want, to have the possibility of having soil borings out there if it's all a private road? Again, that's part of our standard agreement. It doesn't apply to this project, but it is in that agreement. And he did question, why is that even in there? Why do I have to agree to that if it doesn't apply to my property? So I just wanted to let you know that that was one of his concerns as well. From a staff perspective, if you're willing to sign it, we do ask that that completion date be changed to 2 years from either the date it's signed. I believe that's how we would do it, is the date it's signed. And then as far as the plan approval dates, they should be April 26th, not from the June meeting. So those are the only 2 changes that staff would have to that agreement. But I do know that Mr. Hoffman has comments on the agreement as well.
Could I speak to those right now?
Sure.
Sure.
Go ahead, Richard.
All right. The first, which Julie just mentioned, regards if we decide not to build, or depending how this development agreement works out, if we decide not to build the property or the project, why would we be assessed that, since we're putting in all this, the sewer laterals and so basically all of the improvements in the village. It's not in a TIF district, so we're asking for that to be stricken from this. The second item deals with the 18-foot wide driveway, which at the April meeting, we were told if we had a letter from Chris Hecht, the fire chief, that would be approved. And then 2 months later, that was taken off the board, and now it's up to a 22 or 24 foot wide private road. And I know that, I believe anyway, based on the past few months of the neighbors speaking at these meetings, that they went on record to say, they don't want a huge road going in there, and that the number of bushes that would be, which I know no one wants more trees and bushes to be removed. So the 18-foot would work well as far as not disturbing other vegetation and large trees. So we're asking for that to be 18 feet as originally approved at the April 26th meeting. And the last is regarding the indemnification, and an attorney basically said that probably shouldn't be in there for the village president or board members and so on, as a quid pro quo, but we can discuss that at a later time. My main 2 concerns are the minimum assessed value being charged even if we don't go forward with the project, and then also the 18-foot wide driveway.
Okay.
Denise, and then Chad.
Oh, let Chad go first.
All right.
My comment on the assessment is I agree with. I feel like when it's village-owned property, and we want something there, and we don't want to sell it to somebody that's just going to sit on it, I feel like that's very relevant. TIF district, stuff like that, where we don't want things not happening, like what happened to the Arthur Braun property forever. But for something that it isn't going to cost us, I don't see why that needs to be there. And as far as the road goes, I guess that's I'll take more expertise from people like Chris Hecht and Dan Clancy on the road.
Denise.
So at the last Plan Commission meeting in June, we had lengthy conversation about Chalet Lane's width. And there, at the end of that discussion, there was a motion made and a second to keep it at the 18 feet wide. That failed at Plan Commission. with the 11 units there, all being multiple bedrooms, and the amount of traffic that would come in and out of it, Plan Commission felt that the standard 24-foot wide road is much more appropriate and safe. We did hear in comments and correspondence, I think, from some of the neighbors that they didn't want it widened. They wanted it widened the least amount a bit. And I understand that for those living farther on down the road. Plan Commission was very well aware of that. But for safety purposes, a new motion was made for the 24-foot wide width. And that is the motion that passed. The other comments that I have pertaining to page 51, where it was changed from 22 to 18 to 24 paved asphalt that is 5 feet off the east property line. I would like to see, it's fine where it's written, but I also think that it needs to go back into section 1, village approvals on page 34, because that was specifically the motion that the Plan Commission made. So I think it needs to be, we try to put everything up front on page 1. It can still stay on page 51, but I think it needs to be included. And then the way that the document was written, it does not specifically state that new plans will have to be submitted to the village administrator to make sure once that new road is put in, that all of the setbacks are still obtained, whether it's the dumpster, whether it's the parking lot, whether it's the building. So I would like to see that added, that wording added also.
I agree with you, Denise.
So Denise, the 24 feet, when was that put into the code?
22 feet was the standard in the development agreement.
But as far as, you know, I'd venture to say my little road gets more traffic than anybody, and I don't think it's 22 or 24 feet. There's more development happening, more hotel rooms. I mean, I would want to measure Mill Road where the new hotel is going to go up back there, because I think parts of Mill Road aren't more than 20 feet. So I just want to make, I have no problem with the roads being consistent and wide, and we know back here, I think we got to widen, put parking on them, but I don't know that if there's a lot of roads operating more narrowly right now that have a lot more impact, that I would see the point of making this road have to adhere to something that some of our existing roads that get a lot more traffic don't have to.
And I'm sure when we deal with reconstruction, we will make them as wide as possible with possible sidewalks and parking. I have no doubt that we will work towards that end goal everywhere.
I hope so.
Do we have any other questions or discussion from trustees?
So I was in the camp that thought that the 18 foot was more appropriate on that private road. I hear what Denise has got to say. I just think that I think that only needs to be wide as it is absolutely required for safety. And I trust Chris Hecht on that. It's a private road. It's not a public road. And it's not particularly long. I do think that they can get in and out of there. And again, I defer to Chris Hecht on that.
I'll agree with that also.
Chris Heck, originally, when I spoke to him before it came to Plan Commission about that private road, And I also talked to Dan Klansky about it. They both told me over the phone at that time that they would not sign off on it unless it was a minimum of 22 feet. So something changed from that conversation that I had with Chris and Dan. I don't know what that was, why.
Let's ask Dan.
You're on mute, Dan. You're on mute, Dan.
22 is the standard. That's what we're building, Northwoods, all the roads. So 22 is what I said is the standard for public road. Anything that we're doing in town will be upgraded or repaved, should be 22 feet. But that's private road, so it's kind of a different entity. If Chris was okay, he's the one I deferred to because I just wanted to make sure he could get the pumper truck down there and be able to turn it around.
Correct.
Richard, how wide is your driveway?
Right now,
Yeah.
the easement is 22 feet and the paved section is approximately 9.5 feet.
Okay, I'm missing. I guess I'm looking at what I think is your hotel, which would be if you're just to the east of Chalet Lane, right?
Correct. Yeah, I thought you were speaking about Chalet Lane.
No, it looks, your driveway to your hotel looks nearly
Gotcha.
twice as wide as Chalet Lane.
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess consistency would be good on that. If you're that wide for your hotel, this would be a kind of a similar thing. So I don't know why your driveway to a hotel would be narrower than a road, I guess, or wider than a road, I guess.
So
You know
just
what
a
I'm saying?
just a clarification on that with the code. To accommodate for two-way traffic, we would require a driveway to be 24, minimum of 24 feet for commercial use. That's why the driveway is wider.
So then it would make sense to make a private road, which is acting like a driveway, wider.
Correct.
Gotcha.
To answer your question, Chad, sorry, I thought you were speaking of Chalet Lane, but for the coach
Yeah.
light, it's approximately, at the narrowest heading back, it's probably 16 feet,
And at the widest?
probably closer to 18.
Yeah, it's hard to, I'm measuring, but it's in parts, it's at least double what Chalet Lane is. I mean, within maybe a foot or two.
Right. Yeah, Chalet, I believe, is 9 foot, maybe 9.5 where it's paved currently.
So I do hear what, and I would err with being narrower, not having a problem, but I mean, if we're making people put a driveway that wide, this is at least acting like a driveway. And being consistent with that is something, I just like consistency, whether it makes sense or not. I love planning to change it. I love things to make more sense consistently, but I think being consistent is important for us.
I have a question for Julie. Julie, we have never filled out a development agreement based on 2 years from the date that it is signed. We have never done that.
Okay. Yeah, I know, I think what I'm seeing is we put the date of completion. This one, of course, that date has been pushed way back and he's gonna have time to get the permit and then 2 years to complete that. I'm not sure, Richard, do you have a deadline in mind? Do you have a completion date in mind that we could put in there?
I mean, it would definitely be within 2 years of when we signed the actual development agreement, but sometime in 2024, I would guess.
So Denise, I don't know if we would do two years from today, if that would work, or how to adjust that without having,
I would say December 31st of 2024. That gives him the rest of the year to
Okay.
get the additional plans to office staff to look at setbacks, to get all the documentation and sign the development agreement and get the permits, and the permits are good for 2 years.
Okay.
Any other discussion or questions?
I have nothing.
I will motion that we approve the agreement as published with the amended changes as outlined by trustee Berto.
Which includes the completion date, the change of the approvals to April 26th, and moving additional wording from page 51 on the width of the driveway 5 feet off of the side, the property line, up to page
34, I believe you said, Denise.
yeah, 34 of the packet, but what
Yeah.
page is it of the development agreement? Page 2 of the development agreement, and also adding the wording that new plans will have to be submitted for staff to sign off of once the road is drawn properly, and to make sure all the setbacks are still being met. I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Real quick, little discussion. So where does that put the road at? Just so I'm clear.
24.
24. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, I heard ayes and
so
I didn't
nay.
hear nays. So we
Voted
have,
against it, Rob.
what?
I think it was Scott and me.
Okay, I heard you say nay and then, but I didn't know if Scott was saying aye or nay.
Nay.
Okay, and Chad, you're a nay?
I said nay.
Okay, so that gives us a majority of 4. Did we hear Don's? Or do we need to go to roll call on this?
I said aye. I voted in favor.
Okay. All right. So
Was
we
it
have
Mary?
Mary? Did we hear your vote?
I said aye.
Okay, so we have a majority vote 4 in favor, 3 against. So the motion passes. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks.
Item
luck,
number
Rich.
6D, the Northwoods Road Completion Project. Repave and extend and approve funding. This begins on page 66 of our packets. Dan Klansky, would you like to lead us through this one, or Julie?
I'll do it quick, Dan, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So with Northwoods, we plan on building it next year, but if we can actually move up what I would call the financial of approval of it to this year, we could actually start with the design so that it can actually be constructed in 2023. As the staff memo says, it was planned for 2023, but at approving it for this year would mean that we could actually use some of those TIF dollars and Pratt funds if we needed them. So the first thing is just to say, is looking for that approval to say, let's officially move that project to 2022 so we can use those current funds that we have available versus waiting for it for 2023. And then the second part of that is, some discussion when this road was designed, my understanding it was not designed with the wide shoulders. Do we want to make sure that when it is installed, it does have those wide shoulders? It could affect the price a little bit, but now's the chance to do that if we're going to do that. The contractor is going to be out there working on cherry wood. So by starting this project while they're out there actually working on cherry wood, we should be able to save a little bit of money as well too. Dan, do you have anything to add to that? or
Yes,
correct?
I just want to say it's very small. We're talking a little over 600 feet of road, and we bid out a project earlier this spring at 900, and the contractors that I talked to, why they didn't bid it, it was too small. So this is just also a good opportunity. Besides, Tasha made me, alerted me to the fact for funding. It's a small project. We're probably not going to get any favorable bids. If we have someone there, we'll probably get a much better price.
And
So
just for
Dan,
that-
does that mean we need to actively be considering the proposal to possibly use Pratt funds for this?
No, you should be okay with TIF increment.
Yeah, we think it'd be okay with the TIF
I
right
think we'll have
now.
enough. Yes.
I'm sorry, Dan. It should be okay with the TIF, but if we run into problems, we can always come back and look at the Pratt. But the goal would be to use the TIF funds now.
Correct.
I'm cautious about beginning a process of borrowing money from Pratt funds with the idea that we're going to pay it back, unless I've missed something. Since the Pratt started, we've never done something like that. Used it as a slush fund per se. Considering how difficult it's been at times to get people to want to use those funds for certain things, not saying that's right or wrong. I'm leery of going down the road of starting to use Pratt funds as to be paid back slush fund, but that's just me. Maybe.
Well, I think that's the good thing about this project is we can use TIF dollars for it. So hopefully we don't get in that position where we have to use those Pratt dollars.
Correct.
So staff is asking us to approve using TID dollars so the project can be let out for bid and to approve a wider shoulder to increase bike and pedestrian opportunities.
How much of a wider shoulder are you looking at, Dan?
At least 4 feet on each side. I think we're at 24, so we double it.
So you're looking like possibly wide enough. That would be wide enough for a bike lane then. Right?
Yes, possibly in the future, yes.
Yep.
Cool.
This is Ron Strelka from Stony Ridge Condominiums. I have a question.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, as you know, Stony Ridge Condominiums are just to the west of where this road is going to go in. And you just mentioned about widening it. And as I look out my window, I can look at where the property is right now. There's infrastructure of the power boxes and everything that are already in from the development of those other lots. And if I look at that's no more than 30 feet from my window. So I know you just mentioned about possibly widening in that. So is there a diagram on this already, or has this been surveyed out already?
If you look down, I believe you'll see it included, and I do have the preliminary plans drawn up in my office.
If I did, I'm sorry, I didn't get a packet. So I mean, I can look at that later, but there is an updated plan there.
You're welcome
Yeah.
to swing by the office and get the drawings that are on it,
Okay.
Ron. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ron, where
just
are
for
you
the record-
speaking power boxes? Where power boxes are you speaking of?
For the development that went in there for those 14 lots.
So you're talking on Ava Hope, you're not talking on where Northwoods is gonna go.
Well, no, for the lot for Northwoods, there's a power box in that number 1 lot.
Okay. The first one, just adjacent to your property or to your
Yeah.
condo?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, if we have to relocate one of those, we'll have to relocate it. I mean, that's
Okay.
something the woods will have to eat.
is.
Okay, well, that makes sense, because you wouldn't come onto the Stony Ridge
Correct.
condo property, right? You couldn't,
No, we can't.
hopefully if it's mapped out right, the way the the way the lot is right now. But anyway, okay, so then just from a clarification perspective, so when would the construction actually start? You mentioned, funding for 22, and then I know Cherrywood is going in, hopefully it's still this year, right?
Yes, Ron, this would just be going out to bid. There are a lot of other things that would need to happen. And I have spoken with you. I could keep you abreast of that, but I mean, the
Sure.
actual construction date, we're just having our first meeting this week on Cherrywood. So I don't even have an established paving date for that yet. And that has been already signed. So I mean, you would be looking, I probably could give you more information towards winter.
Okay.
It does have to be done by next August, I believe it is, of 2023, if that helps.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I just want to make sure so that if anybody asks me, I can give them some answers, but I'll swing by.
And I will keep you informed, Ron.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Would someone like to offer a motion?
I'll make that motion, Rob.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6E, a request to sell parks equipment on state surplus property website, specifically the 2011 Ford Ranger and Brutus equipment. This is detailed beginning on page 73 of the packet. I believe Dan and Julie just want to clarify the procedure we're following, or Julie, is there something else?
Sure, just a comment on it. When we started this project, we weren't aware of the surplus policy. We went to the committee with it, later found the policy. It's supposed to go to the board before it goes to the committee, so we just did it backwards. So we just want the board's blessing to sell these two properties on the surplus website.
Okay. Any questions related to this, trustees?
Nope.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6F, the liquor license request for Proto Foods LLC DBA Zero Sum at 10578 Country Walk Drive, number 30, Alice Damian agent. Begins on page 79 in the packet.
This is just a standard liquor license request. I've been working with Stoyan for over a year for him to get his paperwork in order to apply for this license. They've desired it for quite some time. So everything has now been submitted to the office as necessary. A fire inspection has been done. Background checks have been made. They paid the publication fee and it's gone into the paper. So it's really not different than any other business in Sister Bay.
I just have one question for you, Heidi. On page 80 and 82 of the packet, the pertinent documents that are signed are dated July 19th, 2022. The license application on page 81 of the packet is dated July 19th, 21. Is that correct?
It's taken that long to get everything in order.
Okay.
So I didn't
just
make
wanted to
him
make sure.
re-sign a new application. I just waited
Okay.
for the rest of the paperwork.
Okay. I will motion that we approve the liquor license as outlined by Heidi.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Rob,
Denise?
I have a question.
Okay, please, Denise.
So when somebody falls outside of the regular license period, whether it's the end of one license year or they come in late to get a license after the July 1st, when the new license period starts, and we always prorate them. And I'm wondering, is that a policy and does that make sense? Is that by statute that we have to prorate, or should the fee be the fee? And I'm not asking for discussion about it now, but I just, if we can talk about that at some time in the later date, if there are some answers to advise the board on what those answers would be.
So it sounds like we've got an item to be placed on a future agenda, and we'll leave that in the administrator's hands.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So we do have a passage of that motion. So we will move on to item 6G, a review of the financial statements and monthly bills. Do we have any questions for Tasha?
I have nothing.
Is Tasha with us?
Yep. I'm with Julie.
Tasha, I would just ask two quick questions. On page 86 of a packet, there's an item for $611.49, a marine extension cord / grinder.
Mhm.
Is that an extension cord?
Those are two different items. The marine extension cord is incredibly expensive. We were kind of surprised.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I just want to make sure it's two items, okay. My other question is on page 87 of the packet, about halfway down. Charge from Door County Highway Department for sweeping the shoulder of Woodcrest Road, $2,945.16, invoice date of June 29th. Is that something related to preparations for the widening of the road, or is that going to
That
be?
is, sorry, that is the completion of Woodcrest Road. So that's the final step would be to sweep it and shoulder it, and then it's done.
Okay. So that was part of the reworking, not, okay, thank you.
Yep, if you haven't traveled on Woodcrest, you should. It looks great.
No, I'm just, my question is, it's not like a monthly fee, it relates to that road repair, okay, and resurfacing, okay, thank you. Any other questions for Tasha?
Nothing.
A motion that we approve the monthly bills as outlined.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6H, committee and commission appointments. Regarding personnel and the communications technology committees. Based on some discussions between various trustee committee members at the committee level, there's been a shared perspective among trustees that with Don Cox's significant personal experience and history with personnel matters and his interest therein, Chad offered the suggestion that he would allow Don to take his spot on personnel, and to make that a seamless transition, then Don would give up communication technology, which Chad would take over. So I offer to trustees for vote tonight that scenario. Don Cox moving to personnel and Chad moving to communication technology.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Regarding commission appointment for Plan Commission. Several months ago, a citizen in the community expressed interest in being on the Plan Commission. Mary Devilly, for those of you who do not know Mary, she's the owner operator of Kitch Inn on the former Patio Motel site, and also owner operator of Tapwood Kombucha Brewing Company. Mary's interest on being on the Plan Commission has been confirmed by the administrator. And so I offer to you for consideration this evening, Mary Devilly for the Plan Commission.
Rob, I'd just like to make a little comment here.
Mhm.
I'm a little concerned about that appointment based on the history we have over the years. I just want to throw that in the ring.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned on that.
Denise?
The reason that Rob is bringing this recommendation to the board is because the Plan Commission chair is not recommending it.
I also
I'm
have
just-
concerns. I don't have personal concerns, but just some of the dealings with and
There's a long history here.
the extra effort and the I mean, maybe not from her, but from their party, the lies that I have concerns with.
I'll make a motion to deny the appointment.
Second,
All those in favor of the motion to deny?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Count me opposed. Okay, so the ayes have it and the appointment is denied. Denise?
Just out of curiosity, Julie, when we don't know exactly what these appointments are going to be, how come the names aren't in the packet?
We could put the names on there. We could put the names in the packet. I know was it last month? I knew there was an appointment. I really didn't know who it was. This month, you know, I knew that I knew Mary Deverly had applied. I think there was actually another application throughout there. I didn't put it in there. I certainly could. If
Well,
I
I
know
just
it, I could
think
put it
that
on
at
there.
least we know then who we're going to be talking about and who's interested instead of possibly coming in blind to a discussion.
That's a really good point. That is, and I'll make sure that when, you know, if I know who the appointment being considered is, we'll get that name on there. Or I can ask Rob too if I don't know.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think that's a good point, and maybe even have that person do a 5-line bio. It like doesn't have to be a resume or anything big, but just describing who they are. New to Sister Bay, or I've lived here for 20 years. I have interest in this stuff, just so we get an idea of not, you know, like, I mean, obviously, if somebody's gonna want to be a part of something, you generally want to ask them questions or figure out who they are. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but it would be nice to just have a little bit of a self bio, right? They can sell it as great as they want, right? But an introduction almost.
Yeah, my understanding is when they apply, there is some bio. I haven't, you know, no one's applied since I've been here. But my understanding is they do submit something, and if not, we can make sure that they do. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
are you okay with that?
yeah, that's fine. Excellent. Agenda item number 7, staff reports. Anything to add? Anyone from staff?
With mine, I would just make a comment real quick. I had put in there that I thought it would be important, you know, we're talking about what to do with village properties and buildings, and perhaps we need to start doing assessments on them to see, you know, what is the life of a building instead of just assuming it should be gone. I did talk with Denise today, and she did tell me that there have been some assessments done on them. So I'm going to retract that proposal out of that staff report and instead try and find the work that Denise was referencing. So, you know, I do feel better that we're not just arbitrarily saying we're tearing down, proposing or talking about tearing down buildings without looking to see if there actually is life left in them. So I'm going to retract that from now out of that staff report. So just ignore that part of it. And that was my only comment or change that I had to mine. And actually I take that back. On the short-term rentals, Heidi had done some more work on that, you know, because we're not getting a lot of response. A lot of people are not filing for that license like they need to. Heidi did some more work on it. Heidi, did you have anything to add at all to the short-term rental segment of my staff report?
As of today, I have 32 licensed properties. I did send out emails to about 50 people yesterday, reminding them that the deadline is approaching to get those applications in. There have been 6 properties on the list that have contacted me and told me they are no longer actively renting. or their properties being used in some other fashion, like for workforce housing. So that's kind of where we're at. I did get some response to the email I sent out yesterday, so I'm expecting to probably have another half a dozen applications here by the end of the week, but they're all going to come last minute, I fear.
All right,
Denise?
thanks, Heidi.
Heidi, when the village first adopted this and you had to make that initial contact, did you send out a letter through snail mail to all of the properties?
Yes.
Okay.
And then some of those came back with bad addresses, so I followed up on those and sent them again or sent them via email.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else from staff? Okay, committee reports. Admin committee, nothing to add at this time. Communications technology.
Has not met, but Julie and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago. I still owe her a description of services. So to bifurcate networking computer services.
Thank you. Coastal byways.
So I couldn't make the meeting last week and I still haven't received the minutes from the meeting. So
Okay. Thank you, Mary. DCEDC, we'll have some further discussion, Julie and I, regarding where we might head with a new appointment from a trustee level. If anyone has any interest in being a trustee assigned to DCEDC, please let me know. And then Julie will be talking further on that.
Question, Rob?
Yes.
Those are all in Sturgeon Bay, correct? And they are in person?
No, the DCEDC one, it's about half and half. They have a lot of virtual or people attending by Zoom.
Okay.
I did attend yesterday morning.
Oh, you did?
Via Zoom, yep.
Excellent. All right, wonderful.
Do you want to report or no?
Yeah, if you attended, that'd be great, Mary.
So basically, the main point of discussion during the meeting was they're currently in the process of hiring internally, both for a business development position and a marketing communication position. They've had up to 50 applicants and about 15 have qualified. Their goal in the next few weeks is to get 5 or less candidates. So they're just trying to narrow it down right now. And that was most of the discussion yesterday.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So then, Mary, I know you were, some of the meetings were an issue with your schedule and whatnot, from what Julie told me. But with this Zoom option, does it seem like you might be able to make those Zoom meetings at
If
least?
things are virtual, that's much more convenient for me. I can't spend 3 hours going to and from Sturgeon Bay, like in the middle of my workday. So yeah, the virtual option is really great.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Emergency Management Plan Committee has not met. Item number 6, Finance Committee.
Met jointly with personnel.
Anything to
Finance.
add?
We had a joint personnel and finance meeting.
Fire Board meets on August 11th.
Correct.
Ad hoc Green Tier Legacy Community Committee meets Monday. Historical Society.
Hey, Rob, I was in no condition to attend the meeting. So I do have a couple of notes here from the June meeting. That was the first, just a couple comments. They have a little thing called the Sister Bay Stories, which is a talk. They're going to have 5 or 6 of these. They had a talk on June 23rd on the Bunda buildings in there. 19 applicants have signed up for the 2022 Christmas market.
God, do you have a cap on that? Like, I feel like you're gonna probably have to start turning people away for how popular that was.
Yes, there will be, yeah. Yep, there probably will be. We're running out of space already.
Yeah, well, good problem to have.
Yeah. So
Thanks,
that's about
Scott.
it. Yep.
Ad hoc land acquisition oversight, Chad.
The joint committee, map was presented by Bay Lakes. It was a good start. A lot of people lost sight that it was just a start, but it was a good start. I look forward to maybe sitting with them and Julie next time and incorporating the rest of the property that wasn't the 56 acres that's out there to kind of show that there is space allocated for recreation and for connectivity to the village. But that they were just told 56 acres, given information, so they, they didn't know to put more in there. So that anyway,
Thank you.
good start.
Library Commission.
So we met this morning, lots of positive news. In the first 2 weeks of July, they had over 3,000 people visit the library. All of the June programs were great success, very well attended. And year to date, other than Sturgeon Bay, Sister Bay has about 23,000 circulating and renewals of items, and that's about 15,000 more than any of the other Door County branches. So,
No used.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
mhm.
Marina Committee.
Minutes are in the packet. Does anybody have any questions? Just a short meeting.
Thank you, Scott. Marina Fest.
Has not met.
Okay. Ad hoc outdoor rec and transportation. Nate, anything to add?
No, we've got a meeting tomorrow. We're going to talk about the 5-year plan for roads, to discuss that, and also talk about the top 5 projects as we potentially see them.
Sounds good. Parks, Property, Streets, I have nothing to add further at this time. Personnel Committee, as Denise mentioned, we had a joint meeting with Finance. Personnel will meet next month. Plan Commission, Denise?
Minutes are in the packet. Are there any questions about what's going on?
Thanks, Denise. SBAA, nothing to add at this time. Tourism Zone meets in August in the full commission. Sewer and Water Utility Committee will meet next month. And Youth Center has not met. I'm going to have to be shifting over to phone. I'm getting booted out of the YMCA here with my daughter's gymnastics class ending. So I'm going to shift over to the phone, and I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess if anyone needs to take a quick break. We have Randy with us, which is good. So we will.
Hey, Randy.
We will take a 5-minute break and then proceed out of open into closed in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Quarter set.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. All right, at 7:12 p.m., I am motioning that we move to closed session.
Second.
Roll call, Zaski, yes.
Baker, yes.
Yes.
Birdo, yes.
Lyons, yes.
Concord, yes.
Okay, at 7:12, we are now in closed session. Heidi, I'll trust that 59 p.m. I will motion that we return to open session.
Second,
Roll call, Zaski, yes.
Baker, yes.
Yes.
Birdo, yes.
Lyons, yes.
Concord, yes.
Okay, at 7:59, we are back in open session, and I will ask our village administrator to read to us our motion.
The motion being considered right now is to inventory the attorney fees, the village's attorney fees spent on the Goki matter, and incorporate those fees into the site plan review fees. And then secondly would be to work with Mr. Goki on a revegetation plan that can be incorporated into the development agreement to assure that the bluff area is properly revegetated.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee, official, or employee not noted earlier in open session?
Yes, I'd like to, Tim Hallbrook's reached out to me for a couple months now, and I don't know why it hasn't been included for us to discuss, but I know the dirt, the pall of the thing that, you know, we had kind of had discussions about talking about those costs incurred. Whether we decide to do something or not is one thing, but we should at least discuss it.
Okay.
I wish Randy was still here because we had discussed, or I had discussed that with Randy, but.
Yeah,
that-
but it wasn't appropriate to talk about in closed because it wasn't
Yeah, I agree.
lined out. So that's why, but we should discuss it as a board.
So do you want, so Chad, do you want to consider this for the time being referred to employee or village administrator, and then
No, I think the board was,
between you?
we had discussions about this and it was before Julie's time and we all remember them, and whatever is being proposed should be brought to us and for us to talk about. And nothing against Julie or her and Randy talking. We were dealing with this before we had more help, and it's something that we should at least discuss, because I know we made it clear to those involved parties that we knew we did something wrong too. So I think we need to discuss it as a board.
Okay, I will put that on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Now okay, I'll put that on the next agenda. Rob, the other thing I have is we did get notice today on the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Conference that's coming up. It's in October, so if anybody would like to participate in that, attend that, let us know and we'll get you registered.
Okay. So are we
I'll make-
referring that to a committee, or we're referring that to the board in essence then? Julie?
Chad's matter or the conference?
No, what you just mentioned.
Oh, the
As far as
conference?
matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to a committee, official, or employee, are we considering that
Oh, I
that
understand.
is referred to the board?
To the board, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you.
I'll make a
Anything
motion
else?
at 8:02.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Julie.